guys, what's going on? This is DJ TLM. You're watching DJ TLM TV. It's Monday. Time for a new Q&A video. But before I get started with the question, I just want to announce that this Saturday, I will be dropping the Saturday Super Session Part 3. So I'm finishing the edit this week. It's a lot of work still, but I'm finishing it this week. And it will be posted this Saturday. So stay tuned for that. Now, today's question was brought to me on Twitter. And it came from Jesse. Salute to you. And this is about beat matching versus dropping it on the one. If you have no idea what dropping it on the one means, make sure to check my counting music tutorial so you understand beats, bars, and phrases, and that will help you understand what dropping it on the one means. I'm not going to go into detail when it comes to that. All right, I will give you a short demo and explain the difference between the two, because Jesse's question is it better for hip hop and R&B to drop it on the one instead of beat matching? Now, to answer your question, Jesse, one is not better than the other, and I use both techniques, and I'll explain why in a minute. But first, let me show you the difference. So the first one is beat matching. You have one track playing. You want that second track to play after that first one, and you're going to match the tempo of the two so you can make a smooth transition from one to the next. So let me set these in the middle, because I believe these two tracks that I have here are already at the same speed, so I don't have to do too much work. And let me give you a quick example. So I'm using instrumentals right now. In a club situation, of course, you're going to have your particular parts where it's good to do a transition, and most of the times you will choose the hook, the chorus for your transition. But I'll talk about that in a different video. All right, one track is playing. Track 2 is right here. The tempo is the same. So now after this phrase is done, I'm going to start my transition. Track 2 is playing. Now I could have done that a million different ways, but just a quick example, that was beat matching and making a smooth transition by actually letting you hear a mix, hearing both tracks play at the same time, play with the EQ, do something with the filters, and then when it's time you switch to that next track. Now when you drop it on the one, I'm going to take the same tracks, and in this case, again, track 1 is playing. In this case, I'm going to take track 2. I'm going to start it at the right point. I'm going to wait to the end of this phrase, but I'm not going to make a mix. I'm just going to start it straight away. So you will never hear both tracks at the same time. So that's dropping it on the one. You wait for the right point, and when it's time to start that new phrase, and like I said, if it's an actual club situation, it will be at the end of the hook of track 1, the chorus. When that chorus is done and that new one begins, where the next verse would start, that's where you drop the new track. All right. Of course, again, these were instrumentals, just to show you the difference between the two. In my case, I love beat matching and mixing, and if I'm warming up, I will mix everything. Love it. Making smooth transition, long mixes, that works perfect. I love it. When it comes to the hype part of the evening, if I'm playing during the hype and I'm rocking out a lot of bangers, I like to move fast, and a lot of times I will be dropping it on the one. I'll also do some tracks normally by mixing them, by beat matching and letting you hear a mix, but a lot of tracks I will just drop on the one during the hype part of the evening. That's what I do. So one is not better than the other. Both are great options, but especially at the hype part of the evening, I like to drop it on the one. Now, because I like to move fast, that's one reason, but also when the crowd is all hype and they're singing along to their favorite songs, a lot of times, and I've done this a million times, when you're mixing, they won't even notice that you're mixing. They're not even hearing the new track coming in until you actually end that verse and that hook and start that new track and make that switch. that's when most of the people will have that oh moment. I've seen it a million times when I'm playing myself, but also if I'm in a club. If you're a DJ and you go to a club, your ear catches everything. So when that DJ is playing, the second he starts his transition, you'll probably be able to hear. I can hear, all right, next song is this or that or that. And I noticed a lot of time that the people that I was with in the club, they couldn't hear it. They didn't hear it. They heard it at the end of that mix when that new track came in, full volume, all EQ set right. That's when they recognized it. So they didn't even notice the mixing part. Now, I'm not saying that it's that mixing during a hype part is obsolete and you shouldn't do it, because yes, there are definitely ways that you can make people hear it, but a lot of times they won't, and I prefer to move fast and have them singing along to that banger, and at the end of that hook when they're singing along, I'll take track one out, let them finish that singing part, and on the one start that next one, and they get that other ah moment, and that works great for me. So Jesse, I hope this answers your question, and I hope you continue to use both techniques if you're using both techniques now. Now, one more thing that I did want to mention, and Jesse had that in his question, and he was talking about the -5 + 5 rule when you're dropping it on the one. Now, I haven't heard about that rule in that way, but I assume that you're talking about the BPM difference, right? I hope that's what you're talking about, because you do have to imagine if you're dropping it on the one, not making a transition by mixing, but just dropping it, boom, on the one. If you don't want to totally shock your crowd, you should make sure that the tempo of both tracks is the same, or at least kind of in the same area when it comes to the BPM. Because if one track is playing at 95 and on the one you drop that next track and it's 70 BPM, you're going to shock people. You'll probably shock them if you just drop it on the one, because the tempo changes the total vibe and rhythm, and that could shock your crowd. So yes, it is a good thing to watch your tempo, but there are also ways that you could just make a transition by dropping it on the one to a totally different tempo. But if I'm switching tempos, like I said, from 95 to 70, I guess that I would either MC myself or have the MC say something, take out track one, and just start track two after he announces something, but not drop it on the one, because the flow difference is just too much. So yes, your -+5 rule, if I understand you correctly, that is something to keep in mind if you're dropping it on the one. Now, if this got too technical for you, make sure you check my counting music tutorial. Make sure you check my mixing tutorial. I will be continuing that mix tutorial series soon. I will be continuing my scratch tutorial series soon. So stay tuned for all of that. If you have any questions about this topic, the comment section down below. If you have anything to add, make sure you share that knowledge, and you can also email me djtlmtv@djtlm.com. If you enjoyed this info, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And I will be back on Saturday with the Super Session Part 3, and after that I'll see you next week with some more Q&A. Peace.